Today we are in Nashville, Tennessee at the Woodlawn Memorial Park, here in the mausoleum, visiting the grave of music icon JD Sumner. JD Sumner, for some of you who may be fans of gospel music, Southern gospel music, probably already know who JD Sumner is. Others may recognize him from his time singing with Elvis Presley. JD Sumner had just a phenomenal life and a great story to tell, and I'm so glad to be able to pay my respects to him. He really started out in gospel music and would work his way through different gospel music groups before finally starting his own group, JD Sumner and the Stamps Quartet. But during that time, throughout his singing career, he was always one of Elvis Presley's favorite singers. Now, JD was known for a very low bass voice. As a matter of fact, for several years, I believe it was like 18 years, JD Sumner held the Guinness record for the lowest note ever recorded. And even to this day, JD passed in 1998. Even to this day, that note has only been surpassed by about 3 different vocalists. So that just shows you the type of low range that JD Sumner had. It's been said that when JD would perform with the Blackwood Brothers Quartet in Memphis, Tennessee, that a young Elvis Presley would come to these shows, come to the performances. And JD was telling a story one time about Elvis and him coming to the show, and he would come, and for those of you who don't know, look it up. It is true. Gospel music was Elvis Presley's favorite music, and some of his musical heroes were gospel music singers. That includes JD Sumner. So when Elvis was a kid, he would come to JD's performances, and one month in Memphis, JD noticed that Elvis wasn't there. So the next month, Elvis came, and JD said, "Young man, why were you not at the performance?" And Elvis said, I just didn't have enough money for a ticket. Now, this was a young Elvis. He said, "I didn't have enough money for a ticket." And JD said, "From now on, you just come to the back door and knock on it. I'll come and let you in for free." And he would joke in later years and say, when Elvis didn't have any money, I would let him in to our concerts for free. Years later, when I didn't have any money, he would let me into his concerts for free. So just a great story. And any of you who have ever, and it would pay you really to look this man up. If you find some of his interviews, he is absolutely hilarious. So very funny. And he was known about as much for his wit as he was for his phenomenal voice. So in Nashville, Tennessee today, visiting the grave of the one and only JD Sumner. And when Elvis, this was after he was already famous, but in the early 70s, Elvis Presley asked JD Sumner and the Stamps to sing backup for him. And they did that for several years. And all of you big-time Elvis fans out there have probably heard this name, and you can find where they were singing with each other. And, JD was talking about that. And I'd seen an interview with him once where he was talking about, what songs do you want us to learn? And, Elvis told him, I want you to sing gospel. So, it's funny. You think of Elvis as a great rock and roller, but he enjoyed gospel music. And I was actually listening to an interview with him and just talking about how relaxing it was for him and just how he found a happy place listening to that. And JD was talking one time about, I think it's when he first became associated with Elvis. He's like, at the end of the show, Elvis thanked us for coming and then gave me $10,000. And, back then that's a pretty, even now I would take $10,000, but back then that was a pretty good chunk of change. And JD, and like I said, he was very funny man, very spry, just had a great sense of humor. During that interview, he smiled and he's like, "Well, I told him thank you very much, and call me back anytime you want to." So he was a businessman too. He helped really cultivate the genre of Southern gospel music, and there was an association with that he either founded or was president of for a while. And he is also a member of the Gospel Music Hall of Fame and the Southern Gospel Music Hall of Fame. I would encourage you definitely to look up JD Sumner, listen to those rich bass notes, also find some of his interviews. I'm telling you, if you have any sense of humor at all, you'll be glad that you did. So, he actually, on the sadder note, he sang at Elvis's funeral. And actually, he sang at Elvis's mother's funeral, too. He was just a friend of the family. So, he's definitely known for that association with Elvis, and also had just a magnificent career himself. I read that he wrote over 700 songs. So JD Sumner is just one of those characters in history who left his mark in music and, is an inspiration for bass singers all over the world. I would love to know if any of you out there have ever heard of JD Sumner. I actually got to meet him one time when I was a kid. I knew who he was, and I actually got to meet him. He looked up and shook my hand, big smile on his face. I found him to be very warm and very welcoming to me when I was able to meet him. Please let me know. I would love to know whether or not you have heard of JD Sumner. Please leave me a comment below and let me know. I'm also going to leave links in the description where you can find me. My social media accounts. My channel is 100% cemetery related. So, if maybe this is the first video of mine that you have ever seen, please like and subscribe. I would love to have you along. There is no rhyme or reason to anyone that I visit, just people of notoriety and people that you've never heard of. Maybe local legends, maybe just a cemetery walk, whatever the case may be. I'm going to be in a cemetery on my channel. Thank you all for watching. I want to hear from you. Please leave me a comment below. Once again, from Woodlawn Cemetery in Nashville, Tennessee, I will see you again soon.